Alright, so we are so close to Dune Part 2, and with the movie that had its world premiere in London, and now we have the first reactions to Dune Part 2, and they're here, and trust me, when I say like these are good, I mean like they're like so good, and I'm trying not to overhype these, but even with these early reactions that are coming in, and that like that are like filled with hype, and raise the excitement for all the fans out there, especially for those who didn't like the first Dune, and so much more. And so in this video, I'm gonna go over the early reactions that are in for Dune Part Two, and tell you guys what do we expect from this next installment, especially for Dune Part Two and beyond. And so if you're new, then be sure to subscribe and click that notification bell so it's on any future vids. And so let's just hop into it. And so, with the first one that is coming from Griffin Schiller, and he says, Dune Part 2 is not only Denise's magnum opus, it's the definitive sci-fi epic of a generation, a tragic tale of a blind fanaticism and corruption, a spectacular, soulful, awe-inspiring masterclass of aesthetics, and a mood beautifully echoing Paul's turbulent journey. It left me speechless. And speaking of which, with this reaction right here, it sounds like we're waiting for like a wild ride. Especially, it's the definitive sci-fi epic, which you all expect this film to be. And so with this first reaction, and I'm already hyped for the film, not to overhype it, but I think we are to expect more than that, especially for what the first Dune movie delivered. And now, with the next one that's coming from Tessa from Mama's Geeky, and she says, Dune Part 2 is so visually stunning, it is absolutely mind-blowing. The story is exciting, and the cast crushes it. Zendaya and Timothee Chalamet have unmatched chemistry, but he proves he is one of the greatest actors as he commands scenes, even opposite Christopher Walken. And wow, just by those words of mind-blowing, I think from what we can tell from the trailers and the marketing, this movie is going to be so visually insane. Plus, I mean, it's going to be a little longer than the first Dune movie, like 2 hours and 46 minutes long. But even with that reaction alone, it proves the show that like with Denise's vision of what he wants to do with this movie moving forward, especially if he wants to do it with the last movie. But even that, I says, with Zendaya and Chalamet's chemistry is unmatched, and I'm sold on this immediately. And now the next one is coming from Braden Davis, and he says, Dune Part 2 is a masterpiece. Denis Villeneuve drops an awe-inspiring, action-packed achievement and a hearty, complex story. It's an astonishing, moving film which demands to be seen on the biggest, most immersive screen possible. I loved it, innovative and thrilling. And wow, I just love this reaction right here. It's just like plain and simple. It tells us what we need to know. And I think I'm sold on this, especially like when it's like inspiring and it's like a thrill ride, and I'm down for that. And now with the next one that's coming from Courtney Howard from Variety, and she says, Dune Part 2 is jaw-dropping, breathtaking, and wildly exhilarating. It's an adrenaline rush to the head and heart. It's soaring in its spectacle-driven action sequences as much as it sings in its refined, evasive stillness. Timothee Chalamet and Zendaya turn in singular work, and then it continues on. Austin Butler is absolutely transformative, captivating, and seductively evil. Yet another compelling performance from Dave Bautista. Rebecca Ferguson tears up the screen, rising to commanding power. Florence Pugh turns in career best work. And wow, with those words right there, especially coming from like the rest of the cast, that really will put the whole hard effort into their roles. And I mean, that's what I like to see, especially with this next movie that has like a stacked cast, especially with Josh Brolin and well the others as well. And I'm excited for what's story, but I definitely agree with this one too. And now the next one comes from Sean O'Connell, and he says, Dune Part 2 is masterful filmmaking on an epic scale. Denis Villeneuve marries gripping character development to vast, sweeping, cinematic visuals, and the cast evolves in their roles. I slightly prefer the simpler Dune to this complex chapter, but still a towering achievement. And just by that, with those words of masterful filmmaking, it tells me that I think, especially with this movie coming out in IMAX, and even with this movie that's going to be shown in IMAX at 70, especially in 70 millimeter IMAX, it tells me that this film is on its way to making box office money, and even with the characters, it's especially, I think that this film will deeply dive more, especially for what the first Dune should have been. But I agree with this, especially with the term masterful filmmaking, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. And also, another thing that I want to touch upon, especially coming from that other reaction that says it's a jaw-dropping masterpiece, and even with this movie, that is going to be a great film, a masterpiece for sure, but even these are just the first early reactions. It was, I think, with the embargo lifts for those full reviews, I think those critics will dive into more about, but even with these early reactions coming in that are slightly over the moon positive, but I feel like this can be a winner right here because I think back to the Flash with those early reactions calling out one of the greatest superhero films ever made, or the movie that cinemas need right now. But that turned out to be a failure, especially with DC, what they want to do. But even, that's everybody. Even with Dune Part 2, I feel like it could be a winner with its stat cast and Denny's vision of what it wants to do. Especially, this is going to be an IMAX. And now, with this next one, that comes from Wendy Lee Sazi from the YouTube channel The Movie Couple, and she says, Dune Part 2 is one of my most anticipated movies of 2024. It exceeded my expectation. A masterpiece. Sound design and cinematography is incredible. I can't get over how talented Timothee Chalamet is. The action sequences are epic and loud and must be experienced in the theaters. And then also continues on. The chemistry between Zendaya and Chalamet is undeniable. I love the addition of Austin Butler and Florence Pugh. Can't wait to see this movie over and over. And that is what I like to see, especially as its term, it must be experienced in theaters, especially not on streaming. But even with this movie, that I think it'll definitely be a winner, especially as we're heading into March. I think it'll definitely be a winner, as I mentioned. But even so, with these early reactions that are coming in, especially with this one, that are saying that with Timothee Chalamet and Zendaya's chemistry is undeniable, it is epic. But I'm glad to see this reaction, and I cannot wait for this movie. And now, with this last one that's coming from Eric Davis from Fandango, and he says, Dune Part 2 is a phenomenal experience, massive in scope and execution. It is exactly what you want from a big, exciting, sprawling sci-fi blockbuster. The action, the intensity, and the spirituality really matches production quality at the highest level, my friends. This is the good stuff. And then it continues on. This one features the best performances we have seen from Timothee Chalamet and Zendaya. Austin Butler is full psycho in all the best ways, and Javier Bardem delivers such a rich, soulful performance. The ensemble is strong in Dune, but they level way up in Part 2. And that right there is just what I want to see. And in the last line that says they level it up in part 2, that's exactly what I want to see, because especially as I was not a fan of the first Dune, some sequences put me to sleep, but even so, I rewatched it, but even with the first Dune, I was not pleased by it, but even with the second movie, it's going to be what the first movie should have been, but by having a more complex story of what Denis' vision of what he wanted to set up this world to be, especially with Paul, and even that this is the second movie that's going to raise all those high stakes, and I'm totally down for this movie. And so for my final thoughts is, with these early first reactions that are coming in for Dune Part 2, it just makes me more excited for the film, and I definitely don't want to overhype these reactions, especially as it's calling it like a jaw-dropping masterpiece or in a masterful filmmaking. I'm excited for the movie, but I'm going in with low expectations and not to overhype it. But even with these reactions, they definitely get me excited for this movie. Plus, I was a fan of the first Dune, but even with the second movie, it's going to be what the first movie should have been, and this raises my excitement and hype as well. And so that's going to be it for this video. Just let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below, and what your thoughts on these early reactions that are coming in for Dune Part 2, and are you planning to see this movie in the theaters when it comes out? And just let me know in the comments, especially in IMAX. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe and turn on notifications about future videos. Also follow my social media link down below, And with that, I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.